The Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, led by the South-South leader, Chief Edwin Clark, has congratulated Senator Godswill Akpabio, who is now the president of the 10th Senate. According to PANDEF, with the election of the former Akwa Ibom state governor from the South-South geopolitical zone of the country, it has provided some degree of balance in the national government. In a statement yesterday by its National Publicity Secretary, Dr. Ken Robinson, PANDEF described the sad attempt by some groups and individuals to force an all-Muslim leadership on the country as not only unfortunate, but also not one to favor. And also thank the 63 senators who voted for the Senator Godswill Akpabio's emergence as Senate President, a true patriot who stood for equity, fairness, and justice, PANDEF said. PANDEF also said it was confident that Senator Godswill Akpabio, with his wealth of experience and knowledge of the issues of the polity, will provide the desired leadership and also push for a direction of the affairs of the Senate and indeed the National Assembly to the utmost benefit of the people of Nigeria. PANDEF further restates its commitment to promotion of peace, unity, and sustainable development in the Niger Delta region and the nation as a whole. But the big question and the big story for today is, will the emergence of Akpabio as the Senate President, or what would the emergence of Senator Godswill Akpabio as the Senate President mean for the Niger Delta region? Knowing that it will be the first Niger Deltan to attain that position, and how can this region attain its dream as the goose that lays the golden egg, and also not only that, but a region that will benefit from its contribution to the nation's well-being. Well, a look at this and more centered on the Senate presidency definitely coming to the South and what it means for the South-South. That's what we're having as a major discourse today on The Big Story. We're talking about the emergence of Niger Deltan, and we're talking of no other person but Senator Godswill Akpabio as the Senate President, and what it means for the South-South, as much as we also set an agenda to see what should come, definitely, to the Niger Delta region. And to truly help us talk about this, I am being joined by a guest right here. He's an environmental and social affair activist in the Niger Delta, and I'm talking of no other person but Bedford Berafa. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
And you do know, also making it really robust, we're also being joined by no other person but Mr. Fineface Dunamini Fineface. He's also an environmentalist and an activist of Niger Delta issue, also joining us via phone all the way from Port Harcourt to also help us address this issue. Good morning to you, Mr. Fineface. Hello. Okay, let's see how we'll really bring him on board. And when we do so, we'll be really getting some of his view as it concerns the issue we're really discussing. But anyway, let's quickly come to you, Mr. Bedford Berafa. Senator Godswill Akpabio is not new to being among the principal officers of the Senate. He was a former Senate minority leader and also, which means a high-ranking member of the Senate before he was made the Minister of the Niger Delta by the former administration. And now being also a former two-time governor of Akwa Ibom State, it is well vast among the issues that concerns the politics concerning the region. Now, what do you feel this region is stand to benefit that we're having our own as the third most powerful person in the land?
All right, this is a very historic moment for the Niger Delta people. The first time in history after 63 years of Nigeria, we have the Southern and a South-South personality emerging as the Senate President. Kudos to the Niger Delta people, kudos to the Niger Delta politicians. And for us, we expect so much. There's so much expectations, particularly in the grassroots, that we have one of our own who has wealth of experience, who understand the issues of the Niger Delta, emerging as the Senate President, a very pivotal role in the politics of Nigeria, because that is a very strategic position to strike a balance in the democratic polity, the tripartite democratic polity.
Yeah.
So we expect that indeed he will indeed bring his A game in ensuring that his laws that will favor the Niger Delta region also fly in the National Assembly. He has a very major key role to ensure that the sufferings is ameliorated. The sufferings of the Niger Delta people is ameliorated, and possible laws be enacted to ensure that our people also benefit graciously from the leadership.
Well, anyway, I love the way you said it, how he would also push to see how we'll gain, or the Niger Deltans will gain, him being the third most powerful person in the land. But anyway, it looks as if we're now finally being joined by another person, but Mr. Fineface, Dunamini Fineface. Hello, good morning to you. Hello? Hello? Okay, it looks as if we're still having issues with that connection. I will plead with you guys to hold on, and let's see how we can really resolve all of that issues and see how we can also bring him on board. Because talking about these you said it has never happened in our 63 years of existence, having Southern or South Niger Delta being the Senate president. Okay, yeah, I'm being informed now by my PD, and I'll finally have him on board. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello? Okay, we're really having issues with that. We'll see how we resolve it. But let's come back to you now, Mr. Bedford. And let's look at some of the areas or issues that most Niger Deltans would want to see a change or improvement under this administration. And one I want us to start with. Hello?
Yes, good morning. I can hear you.
Oh, better now. Yeah, nice having you on board. I was sorry about the small technical issues we had initially. But thank God we have you now, Mr. Fineface Dunamini. And I'll just quickly go straight to it. We now have a Senate president from the Niger Delta region. And if we could take our minds back 3 weeks ago, he said he should not be based on his performance or judged on the performance as the minister under the last administration. But he promised beating the expectations of Nigeria. Now, do you feel this region, under the reign of having a Senate president of no other person but Godswill Akpabio, will gain a lot?
Well, good morning for the time, and I think I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, the Niger Delta and Senator Godswill Akpabio's Senate presidency. Well, I believe that this is the second time we are having, a Senate president from the South, and this is the very first time we are having under the current administration that started under the current democratic dispensation that started in 1999.
Yeah.
And Godswill Akpabio, in as much as I support him for the Senate presidency, I do not see the Niger Delta enjoying so much from his Senate presidency because he was at the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, where he held sway for many years.
Okay.
And one would expect that he will use his position there to address the issue of the East-West Road, which he didn't do.
Okay.
So now that he has been sworn in, and he's been elected as the Senate president, we expect him to sit up and do more for the Niger Delta region. He has said in his inaugural acceptance speech that he is going to do more in the area of carrying out oversight functions.
Yes.
I will advise him to carry out the oversight functions starting from the NDDC that was under him for many years. And before he can commence the oversight function in the Niger Delta or across the country, he should begin by ensuring that the forensic audit report for the NDDC is released. Then the report can now be the basis for his oversight function to ensuring that those things that led to the outcome of the report are no longer carried out. Okay. I also want to say that the Niger Delta could also be better if it looks into the issue of environmental cleanup going on in Ogoni land by ensuring appropriate appropriation and releasing of funds for that to happen. Again, he can also look into Bayelsa State, because today in Bayelsa State, there has been environmental audit and a report that is going to cost about $2 billion have been released. So I think he needs to also take steps as the Senate president to ensuring that the environmental remediation in Bayelsa State is carried out. He should also use the opportunity of his pronouncement on some of these areas that we expect him to take action to call for more audits of the environment in the Niger Delta, because we expect him now, being the number 3 powerful citizen of the country, to attract development to the Niger Delta. And he should see the Niger Delta as his primary constituency, not the place he came from in Bayelsa, in Akwa Ibom State. So I think I expect him to do better.
Yes, I'll plead with you to hold on. And fine face do not mean fine face. You raised a major issue, and one that you raised was that of the NDDC. And we know since the establishment of the NDDC in June of 2000, it has never been so bad, especially under the last administration, when we saw a lack of development, when we talk about infrastructure, and also a commission that was riddled with a whole lot of scandals, especially that of corruption. But do you see him, because you made mention that it was definitely under his watch as the Minister of the Niger Delta that we had all of this happen. Do you see this as a golden opportunity for him to write and sway the minds of Niger Deltans towards that ministry, for that ministry to start sticking to its mandate that it was created for, and that's so mandate of developing the oil-rich Niger Delta region to start with? So do you see this as a golden opportunity for him to help change the minds of Niger Delta, especially as it concerns that very commission?
Well, it's a golden opportunity for him to change the minds of the Niger Delta. It's also a golden opportunity for him to ensure the appropriation of resources for the development of the Niger Delta through the NDDC. It is also a golden opportunity for him to right the wrongs of the past in relation to the NDDC. But I do not see him doing so. Because
why are you not optimistic about that?
Why I'm not optimistic is that it was under his watch that we had the most leadership instability in the NDDC. It was also under his watch that he was carrying out the forensic audit of the NDDC, for which he has not released the report to date. And I'm also relatively sure, allegedly, that if the forensic audit report of the NDDC is released today, the current Senate President will be indicted one way or the other for the role he has played in the misappropriation, mismanagement, corruption, and the inability of the Commission to perform its functions over the years. Because I remember what happened between him and a former interim administrator of the NDDC, talking about Dr. Joy Nunye, whereby they were washing their dirty linen in the public about the roles that each of them played, documents that were coming out. So if he does not release the forensic audit report, he cannot be able to make any fundamental change in the NDDC that had been under his watch. We are not also unaware of the fact that he has some running cases with the EFCC, whereby he's been accused of over 2 billion naira misappropriation allegedly. So the last time he was invited, I think he wrote to the NDDC through his lawyer that he was having issue, he wants to travel abroad for treatment, and the next thing we saw, he was on the floor of the Senate, and then eventually he's not the Senate President. I know quite well that he does not enjoy immunity to the best of my knowledge, but if it happens, I think that steps should be taken for him to use his office as the Senate President to make things happen in the Niger Delta.
Okay. Well, nice you said that, but I'll plead with you to hold on. Let me come now to you, Bedford, and look at the issues of the NDDC. Many will say this is a very golden opportunity for Godswill Akpabio to ensure that this commission truly develops a region that seems to be laying the golden egg and being the golden goose, but yet we seem to be underdeveloped. A commission that has been in existence for the past 23 years as it stands, or 24 years, and yet not being able to deliver that mandate of fully developing this region.
It's quite unfortunate that the NDDC has not lived up to its expectations, particularly under the watch of Senator Akpabio when he was the minister, of the Niger Delta. And it behoves on him right now to really right the wrongs, to really bring his A game and ensuring and that the issues of the Niger Delta is really handled diplomatically to the best knowledge of his, to the best ability that he possesses and the power that he possesses. The Niger Delta, Development Commission, for us, it has not lived up to expectation. There are so many lacunas, there are so many gray areas, there are so many corruptions, and even when he appeared before the floor of the Senate as the minister of Niger Delta, you could see the level of interference. You could see some level of trying to make a statement of who were giving contract.
But don't you feel it was more of a power play there between his ministry and the sole mandate of the NDDC then being in a separate commission that should have just normally run its own?
Godswill Akpabio as a person allegedly has these controlling powers that he wants to be in charge, and when he's not seen to be in charge, he tries to truncate a process, and that is what allegedly is being known for. If you know what transpired during that period, you could see that there was that power tussle that this person is not listening, is not taking directive from me. If this ministry is under my watch at this particular time, you you don't have autonomy at this particular time because the presidency has made that mandation and you're not reporting as it should be. So there is that interference, and his position was being threatened. Okay. And so he was now like fighting.
So it was more like a power play.
Was like more like a power play.
Generates more.
And that power play, it was the masses that now suffer the brunt of that power play. So for us, this is the appropriate time, golden opportunity that has availed to him, the second chance that normally don't really surface for politicians, but for him, he has that second chance to really rewrite the wrong and ensure that the forensic audits that he masterminded or he was in charge of should be published and should be made public for the public to know, and so that we can know in the areas that we can improve on as the Niger Delta people.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Fine-Face Dunamini, I guess you're still there with us. Now, let's leave the NDDC because we have major areas that is really affecting the Niger Delta. And one that is also of paramount importance is the issue of the PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, which was signed, I could still remember, on the 16th of August of 2021. And on the mining, we've now seen a partial implementation of the PIA. We've not seen that of the 3% for host communities development. Now, really, how imperative is this? Because I know it's now not in his table because it has left the legislative part of it is now a law. But how really important is it, not just for him, but for this administration to be seen to also implementing that 3% for host communities, at least for them to have that belief that also they are part of the PIA?
Yeah, the Senate presidency in relation to the PIA, one would say that the law has left the National Assembly to the presidency where there had been assent.
Yeah.
But from the Niger Delta, there has been a series of meetings and review of the document, and we have found many areas of lacunas that are inside the law. So what we can do right now as the Senate president is to give room for we that advocate in the Niger Delta to present some of these lacunas and areas of concern in the PIA, and they should be able to admit and bring back the document and make some of those changes for the people of the Niger Delta. The 3% provided in the PIA, Mr. President, immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari set up a committee headed then by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, our brother and His Excellency Timothy Receiver, to review and come forward with a process of implementation. They were given 1 year within which they need to do so. And I think the 1 year has almost elapsed and nothing has happened. So I think the current Senate president coming from the Niger Delta should reawaken that particular document and call off the process of ensuring that the document is implemented and the 3% paid to the people. Because I know quite well that he has very good relationship with Mr. President. Okay. That's why the father is a Senate president. So he has the ears of Mr. President. And if Mr. President must succeed, there must be attention to the issues of the Niger Delta. So these are some of the arguments he should put on the table as a way of lobbying Mr. President to ensure the full implementation of the PIA. He should talk to the president and let him see reason why he should begin to let the people of the Niger Delta to see benefit from the PIA, so that even you too are involved in artisanal refining, pipeline vandalism, and of course illegal refining can begin to have opportunity, because the PIA has provided that if there is pipeline vandalism in any community, the 3% will be withheld and the money used to fix the pipe and address all those issues concerning that. So I think that it will be good for Mr. President to implement the PIA and provide alternative livelihood opportunities for you who are involved in artisanal refining by establishing the Presidential Artisanal Crude Oil Refining Development Initiative, PACODI, and also establishing the modular refineries that will give alternative opportunities for you who are involved in this. So that, because we cannot talk about implementing the PIA, preventing people from breaking pipelines when we do not provide something that they will do. Because even if we bring the PIA, they will continue to break the pipeline because they need to cook crude oil and they need to earn a living, because there's no vacuum in nature and they cannot stay hungry. So we need to have this current Senate president talk to Mr. President and use his good offices to make things better for the Niger Delta people, for a better environment and prosperity of the region. Well,
thank you, Fine-Face Dunamini. Let me come to you now, Bedford. The PIA is one legislative, or rather a law, that has not really seen the light of the day, especially our concerns that the 3% for host community. And many has really come to criticize that aspect, undermining the last administration did all it can to ensure that the PIB is now the PIA. Now, how really important is it for the Niger Delta to have that PIA coming to full swing under this administration?
Well, it is very, very sad to say that Nigeria as a nation is known for making laws but implementation has been the problem. Look at the law, beautiful laws that we have as a nation, but implementation is so saddening. And for us as Niger Delta people, when we start agitating, when the agitation is high, and they'll bring the PIA, and they will now say, okay, surveillance is part of the PIA, and they will just pinch out the surveillance and give to one of our person and say, okay, you take the surveillance and go and relax, and you employ people to now, secure the find out. Since the surveillance contract that has been awarded, the PIA for us, it has been abandoned. The implementation has been on hold, it's on pending, and that is so saddening, because if the 3%, according to the derivation that they got, is reaching out to the community, to the host community, by now, there will be some level of development, and because development is personal, it's both personal and collective. So there will be that community development, there will be that personal development.
Do you see this administration having the willpower to implement?
For me, it is all about politics. It is all about politics.
But having our number 3 man there,
they have been playing politics.
Would you see this seeing the light of the day?
That is more reason why he has to bring his A game, because legislative business has to do with lobbying. You have to lobby the presidency to ensure that your desire, what you desire comes to fruition. So he must bring that A game in lobbying the executive, the executive arm of government, because it is a little there, a little here. And so he has to bring that A game to ensure that the implementation, there is active implementation, and the areas where, of course, there's no perfect document anywhere. There's always opportunity for review, but the one that we have, implementation of the 3%, he should ensure, if he must succeed, if he must get the minds and the accolades of the Niger Delta people as an historic position that he is holding now, he needs to bring his A game to ensure that there is implementation of that, of that 3%, particularly for the people, and not just giving us surveillance and for us. The surveillance for us, there's a lacuna. If you watch recently on Sunday, last week Sunday, there was a breakout of one of those pipelines going towards on that area. There was a bus, and you could see the crude gushing out into the waters, and people are dying every now and then. If there is this implementation, of course, the attention of the people will be diverted to illegality, and the consciousness of saying, let us make this work, will come to fruition.
Well, anyway, I would love to plead. I love what you said, and I'll plead with you to hold on. Also, Mr. Fineface Dunamini, we need to go on a break now and get some commercials done. But when we come back, we'll continue our discussion as we look at what Niger Deltans are looking forward, having the number 3 man of the land being a part of the South-South, what that means for this region, and what are our wishes and agenda to ensure that the Niger Delta sees its pride of place as also a part of this great nation. Let's go on a break.